All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to Omniscient Office Hours and the year 2023. We're excited for this event. We're excited for this year. There's so much cool stuff going on. My name is Alex Burkett. I'm the co-founder of Omniscient Digital. Run these webinars as well, and I'm excited for this chat today. So I'm gonna just roll right in. There's probably more people coming in slowly here, but as you're coming in, if you can, in the chat on the sidebar, state your name, where you're based, tell me where you're from, tell me what the weather's like. Apparently that's a good icebreaker. And we have a fun icebreaker question, which is, if you had to teach a class on one thing, what would you teach? So for me, my name is Alex Burkett. I am based in Austin, Texas. It is January 10th, and it's 80 degrees and sunny in Austin, Texas. This is the time of the year that I remember why I moved to Austin from Wisconsin.
Yeah, from Wisconsin.
It couldn't be a bigger contrast. I was actually in Wisconsin for Christmas, and I flew into Chicago, and it was negative 10 degrees. Like no wind chill, just straight up negative 10 degrees. It was insane. The class that I would teach, this is a hard question. We have a course, but I'll make it more fun than that. I was actually thinking about this a month or two ago because a friend of mine was hosting this event called Lightning Talks, where you teach it's like a 5-minute TED Talk, essentially, teach about something that you know and you're passionate about. And the idea that I came up with, I couldn't do it because we didn't have the equipment, but I would love to teach how to write a blues song in 5 minutes, because it's a very simple structure, but it teaches you the basics of music theory. It gives you something tangible that you can create, and you can layer on all kinds of different improv. So it's like the easiest introduction into music creation. Tracey, what would your answer be here?
Okay, so I'm Tracey. I'm also in Austin, Texas, where it is sunny and 80 and so nice. And of course I would teach probably something on like how to do like case studies really well, and like leverage case study interviews within other pieces of content for testimonials. Like case studies can like power, especially for small startup organizations, case studies can really power your entire marketing organization. And a lot of folks either outsource them, or which isn't necessarily always a bad idea, but a lot of folks just kind of get them wrong. There's really cool ways to do it to build good relationships. I personally love doing them. It's like the perfect mix of my journalism background and content marketing. So I think that might be it. But maybe if it like wasn't about content, I'm trying to think about like, what is there anything else I'm good at? Ooh. No, not really. Nah.
I feel like there's tons of stuff you're good at. I mean, like I know you've run like your own e-com and all that stuff. So I feel like you could teach a couple of courses.
I know. Well, I mean, I'll tell you all this. I am feeling a bit like a failure today, like outside of like professional realm, because my hair straight here, as you all can see, it is usually pretty curly. But I have been unable to find a good curly hair products that I like as much as I liked Diva Curl. For anyone in that world, you know, a few years ago, a bunch of stuff came out about Diva Curl, or it was making people lose their hair, which is just really upsetting because Diva Curl was like the best product for basically everybody. And I've tried all of the products and I can't find one. So I just straightened it today because I said, you know what? Whatever. So I would say I used to be an expert on curly hair, but that has also diminished with time.
No, that's a throwback though. I remember we did our podcast conversation, and that was when I had long hair during the pandemic, and we had probably a 5 or 10 minute segue where we just talked about like hair care, and I felt like I learned a lot from that. So
yes, I know. I used to be so good at it, but Diva Curl was my secret weapon, and without it, I've done all the TikTok stuff. Like, and I'm just like, you got like all the TikTok people want you to put like 12 products in your hair, and I'm like, I can't. That's not what's happening. Anyways, shout out to Diva Curl. Miss those days, but don't want my hair to fall out.
Yes. All right. So we're a couple minutes in. Maybe people still roll in, but I want to just cover some housekeeping before we get into the show. Today's workshop is recorded, and it's going to be shared along with the slides. You can still take notes, but you're going to get the materials afterwards. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom right of your window to submit a question, and we'll talk through them at the end. So with that out of the way, let's introduce Tracey. Tracey Wallace is the director of content at Klaviyo, an e-commerce marketing automation platform. She has deep expertise in content marketing, SEO, partner marketing, integrated marketing, lifestyle marketing, product marketing, brand marketing, community. That's a lot of expertise.
It's all of them.
You can teach so many courses.
Yeah.
Community and social media marketing and event marketing. In a previous life, she wrote about small business and boutique success at Mashable, Elle, and Time Out New York. Her work has been featured on Bustle, Policy Mike, and Refinery 29. In this session, Tracey is going to talk about what recent AI content improvements mean for your team's productivity and how to build content that outranks and outdistributes anything that AI can create.
Yes, amazing. Hi, everybody. Before I jump in to my slides, I want to say a couple of things. One, thank you for the introduction. All of that makes me sound like I've been around for a very long time. I will just say this. I've been doing content marketing and research in the e-commerce space for about 12 years now, and primarily working on content, right? So I come from a journalism world, have been doing content marketing in particular for a very long time. Started pretty low ranks, built my way up myself, pretty self-taught, because content marketing wasn't really a career before like 5 years ago. So happy to share my knowledge as much as possible. And then also, please do use the Q&A stuff. I usually like to run my webinars or things like this, answering questions throughout. However, because I'm going to be on slides this whole time, I'm actually not going to be able to see y'all's chat or Q&A. So we will have some time at the end of this to run through those, but as many questions as possible, I'm happy to answer absolutely anything. Okay, cool. I'm going to hop on over, share my screen. The sharing of the screen is why I can't see y'all's lovely comments, but does this like come across okay? Oh, one other thing, if you click full screen at the bottom, you should be able to like see this more, because I have gotten some comments before in this particular app that sometimes text and stuff can be a little small. Okay, cool. So AI, there's been a lot of doom and gloom. Also a lot of excitement if you have been on Twitter or LinkedIn, I don't know, since like mid-December when ChatGPT kind of first came out and people were getting really stoked or really scared about it. Again, a lot of the information that's coming out for it, at least that I'm seeing on LinkedIn and Twitter, other than people being like maybe like overly excited about it, is a lot of doom and gloom. Like copywriters, we're not need copywriters anymore. We're not going to need content people anymore. I don't think any of that's true by any means, but I want to like walk y'all through what I do think is likely to happen, how this relates overall to content marketing and how it's different from like media in particular, and how AI can play a big role in ideally helping your teams not burn out, but helping you to distribute more content, produce more content, and do so in a way that is higher quality. So we will dive on in. Okay, cool. So AI right now, this by the way is ChatGPT's logo, and then I put Jasper down here as well. These are the two tools that I'm most familiar with myself. It's what my teams are kind of messing around with. But as of right now, AI content generation can already produce a lot of programmatic SEO content for you. So it can do like product descriptions on product pages, right? Which is, where a lot of e-commerce store owners are really looking to use it and leverage it. And it's a huge benefit to them there, because some of those folks have like thousands of SKUs, and just what a pain in the butt it's always been to need to go through and write custom product reviews for all of those. You can certainly do it for definitions. I mean, think of organizations like MailChimp that have an amazing like glossary section, right? Like, and the answers in there are pretty small. Like, you can create that pretty much like that amount of content used to take a while to create. And now you like an 8-hour day messing around with ChatGPT can probably get you that. You can certainly write FAQs. Now, a lot of this stuff might need additional edits, but like it's going to get you the content primarily that you need without too much additional copywriting or content work. It can also repurpose existing content for channels. So you can drop in content, and Jasper in particular, you can drop in about 2,000 words of content from a blog post, from things that are already written, and then ask the tool to like take that content and create a Twitter thread out of it. Take that content and like summarize it for a mid-market audience directed at an IT manager. It's not said great. That's probably a bad prompt, but you get it. It can look at that content and create emails and nurture streams. And we're going to talk about this kind of content repurposing quite a bit. And then, of course, it can also do parts of the editorial process for you. So it can do research for you. I've gone in and asked it a lot of questions around like, what's the history of content marketing? What's the history of e-commerce? ChatGPT in particular is good for this because you can ask it like, you can have a conversation with it and kind of grow your overall understanding of something. You still want to use Google for research as well, but ChatGPT is a really great additional tool for that. And then, of course, Jasper, ChatGPT, a lot of these tools can also write general how-tos and listicles for you. All of this for me, especially when you think about the programmatic SEO, some of the repurposing, these general how-tos and listicles, ultimately means, again, for me, that a lot of the more like mundane manual tasks of content marketing can be like taken over by AI, and hopefully like rightfully so and thankfully so for all of us who are excited about content, who love writing content, who love producing really great high quality content. But we will look at this more here in a moment. But again, this is what content generation by AI can already do in places where you can already start to use it. What can't it do? This is the wrong side for this, but ultimately what it can't do is, anything that's more creative, adding in a unique point of view to something. And what I mean by a unique point of view is interviewing existing human beings, real human beings, interviewing them and bringing in their take to a piece, writing content that helps to support and elevate that, writing content that helps add to a conversation. Now, this is important because right now, most of the AI tools, though I do imagine this will change in the future, are historical only. In fact, Google's algorithm in terms of like ranking stuff on search also only looks historically. It's why even if something is a zero, like has a zero in terms of search volume, doesn't mean you don't necessarily want to write content for that because it's looking at it historically. But if you as a human being can see that it is something that's trending, you can still produce content on it and get a good amount of traffic over time as that traffic increases. Same thing with AI. It only looks historically, so it can only pull information that has already been published to the internet out. And if that is the only content that companies or media organizations were publishing, we'd all be in a whole lot of trouble. At least me personally, I wouldn't want to read that kind of stuff. It is super important, and we'll talk about this in here, for content marketing teams to build thought leadership for their organizations. Now, that isn't a type of content, at least for me, that's a goal of content, which is as you produce consistently, very like high quality, trustworthy content that adds to the conversation, has a point of view. Over time, your business becomes seen as a thought leader. AI can't necessarily help with that. It can help with the research. It can help build out some of that content, but it's not going to be adding that stuff in. And I think that's where content creators and content marketers should really be more focused. So we will look at that, but I do just want to see what my next slide is. Okay, cool. Something to talk about here, and I like hear this a lot, is people like conflating content marketing organizations with media organizations. And in this office hours, I want to make a like real point to differentiate between the two, because I think how AI plays into the content production process for content marketing organizations, it'll help you understand that better if you can see the differentiation here. So as it says here, over the last decade, a lot of media organizations have lost steam. A lot of them went under. A lot of them lost trust. That is the time in which content marketing ultimately, arose and became kind of a larger industry. Though, rest assured, it did exist before this started happening. You have things like travel guides, or, oh gosh, what is the Michelin star guide, fantastic piece of content marketing promoting tires. If you didn't know, it's great history. But again, the rise of content marketing as a career path is to an extent a replacement for niche media. A lot of the types of content that content marketers are producing for their business organizations used to be the type of content that really niche publications or media organizations would publish. Some still do. I mean, Search Engine Journal is still doing fantastic, and it publishes all content about SEO, right? So in that time, though, you have seen places like Shopify and HubSpot in particular. This is actually looking at both of their Ahrefs data. And I think, what is this? Shopify up here on top is getting their blog in particular over 4 million sessions a month, and HubSpot's nearly 20 million. Both of them were able to build large inbound marketing efforts through content marketing, acting as publishers in their own right. Those certainly aren't the only ones, but Commerce did something similar. A lot of organizations have been able to do this. A lot of them are still working towards that. But this has led a lot of companies, a lot of content marketing organizations and the companies that they work at, to say that brands should be like the new media companies, and that content marketing organizations should be run as media organizations. And I understand where they're coming from in terms of content marketing organizations need to publish a lot of different types of content, from articles to podcasts to videos to events, right? Media organizations do that too, but I do think there's a very real difference here. And the difference is that at media organizations, content is the product. I promise you I'm getting back to AI here very, very soon. This is relevant background. At media companies, content is the product, whereas at B2B companies, your product is the product, the product that the company is ultimately trying to sell. There are some content organizations that have more productized their product, but I will say, organizations like Shopify, for instance, had been working towards this over the last several years, and then in mid-2022 laid off a large portion of their workforce, as everyone probably knows from the headlines that happened around that time, and pretty much their entire content marketing organization was laid off during that time, which suggests to me that building that media model for content marketing organizations, especially as we're looking at potential years of recession, it just isn't maybe the best way to go about it, because even Shopify, one of the best known in the industry for content marketing, couldn't necessarily sustain it or ended up cutting it out of its budget. Cool. So as a result, this is what I ultimately see happening between these two industries, which is, one, in media, I think media organizations are going to become more creator-led, like Workweek, which is a place where I personally have a newsletter, but a lot of folks do. If you're unfamiliar with Workweek, the way they work is they hire in influencers to write their own newsletters, and they leverage those personalities, those influencers. I'm probably the smallest person that they have. They leverage those influencers to ultimately grow their own channels. I think this is what more media organizations are going to need to do over the coming years, right? Is move more into that space. For content marketers, though, I think we're going to need to all become far more reporting led, similar to how media organizations used to work. And what I mean by that is that we are going to need to cultivate and gather, i.e. interview, experts and influencers that your brand has access to provide that unique, strong take, and to also be able to leverage distribution after a piece goes live. So to visualize that, say you were writing a piece on, actually Klaviyo just did this, we wrote a piece on D2C marketing. We were ultimately targeting a keyword around what is D2C? What is D2C marketing? D2C marketing. those three keywords, and ended up writing a piece that came out with, D2C isn't dead, it's evolving. And we interviewed, anywhere from 5 to 10 different experts and folks in the industry. So from Klaviyo customers to Klaviyo partners, as well as just like influencers in the e-commerce industry to get their take on what was happening, advice for folks, all of that jazz. It was one of our best performing pieces of 2022, and it came out like last in 2022. But it did so well because, one, it had a really strong take and point of view, but also because it cultivated, this thought, like this, I don't want to say thought leadership, but it cultivated this overarching thought added to a conversation using the experts and influencers. Those experts and influencers shared it out on their own channels. Some of them had newsletters. They shared it out there. Again, content marketing, from my point of view, is moving more into that world and realm. And this is when we'll start talking about AI, I swear, very soon. Cool. Why this works. I'm going to focus on content marketing here in particular, and then of course we'll share this out and y'all can read through all of it. But this works because content in a content marketing organization needs to help sell the product at a more and more efficient scale. To do that, brands need content assets throughout the funnel, not just at the top of the funnel. So what happens when you create pieces like that D2C isn't dead article, when you interview a bunch of influencers and take on this more reporting style where you're adding a unique point of view top of funnel, so you then enable yourself to repurpose that content into a variety of different formats and types for different parts of the funnel, because that is ultimately content marketing's job. It's not just to sell the content and get it in front of people. It is to use that content to give the company something to say, a voice with which to say it, ideally a cohesive voice, a cohesive point of view, and of course, track all of that content back to revenue for the product itself. Okay, cool. So content marketing distribution channels then, include, growth marketing, so SEO in particular, potentially affiliate marketing, social media marketing, paid advertising. I know y'all all know this: lifecycle marketing, partner marketing, customer marketing and retention, sales enablement. That is a lot of things to repurpose content for. And when I talk to one-person content marketing teams, I've been a one-person content marketing team. Often you can only focus on like one or two tops of these channels just because you're a single individual, a single human, right? You can't necessarily do it all. And then as companies grow, and as a content marketing organization grows, you have to think about all of these different things. At a certain point, content marketing becomes the central hub for the overall voice and view. And that's going to happen more and more, especially as content marketers take on this reporting style, content creation, which again is something that AI can help with, but isn't something that AI can necessarily take from or can necessarily produce on its own. So it's creating that unique content top of funnel, which you need, of course, for SEO, but then it's also creating something that you can drop into tools like Jasper, GPT, tell those tools to pull from that content, because we know tools like Jasper, ChatGPT, other AI tools aren't always accurate. The information that they bring in isn't always accurate. You can help bypass that by writing that high quality content through that reporting style, which helps to get you that point of view, helps differentiate it, helps add to the overall conversation, and then telling AI to use that to ultimately repurpose content for all of these other channels. Cool. Again, I kind of went over this a little bit ago. This is a lot of stuff for content marketers to keep up with historically. And as a result, I think, in my professional opinion, content marketing has been really undervalued because it's often kind of left out on an island on its own. Content teams aren't always sure how to, connect content back to revenue. Even when you do connect content back to revenue, there's a lot of questions around content assisted revenue, because pretty much every other channel is using your content to drive their own goals. And so you're helping to assist, but you're not necessarily driving like revenue directly on your own, or it's a way smaller portion. And that leads exec teams and others to ultimately undervalue content. And I have seen teams really be able to break out of that mold when they become that central hub. That also helps to set up distribution processes. So again, you create that really strong piece of content top of funnel, and then it is repurposed throughout all of the other distribution channels. Super hard to do with, I mean, my team at Klaviyo does this. We are a team of 5, and we struggle to keep up with all of the channels. We are pulling AI in the way that I'm about to talk about here. So AI tools can make this really scalable. 1, because they can do them faster. 2, because they can give the power to the channel owners to do this. So you think about, a social media marketer might be able to hop in, and instead of like, needing to go through and read every single piece of content that y'all are producing, that the content team is producing, they can drop that 2,000 words into a tool like Jasper, say like create a Twitter thread out of this, and a variety of other types of prompts, and be able to like, edit that quickly and get something up. Same thing again for creating one-pagers and white papers. Again, that is just creating the like copy and the summaries of it. You still have to put that through design, but I'm sure create like design AI will help out there in the future. But all of this to me works because you are creating that quality content up front, top of funnel, that then can be repurposed down funnel. And you aren't having to worry about plagiarism. You aren't having to worry about, pulling in any other branded information. Like, you are using the high quality content that your team created with the insights and expertise from your own partner network and ecosystem to repurpose content that is unique for your brand. Cool. So again, this changes existing content production models. So anything that can be made programmatic should use AI as its primary source, which means content marketers might not need to do much with it other than like edit it at most. So it can create glossaries, product pages, FAQs, chatbots, automated emails. Sorry, product pages here, like e-commerce product pages. Again, copywriters and editors should be editing these prior to them going live for accuracy, brand voice, etc., at least until AI gets better. I know a lot of these tools are building in capabilities to drop in your entire website into them, have it read the website, and then like name that brand voice and like have AI content created that matches that brand voice, which is like mind-blowing. And then maybe at that point, product pages will also apply to like B2B product pages too. Anything that needs to be repurposed for a channel, that's an AI use case. So social media marketing, Twitter threads, LinkedIn posts, paid media advertising, using existing blog copy to help either create one-pagers, white papers, and or advertising essentially based on what's in the copy already. Lifecycle marketing, so that includes dedicated emails, automated emails for behind those white papers and one-pagers, newsletters, all of this stuff, y'all. Like, when I think about this from like my team's perspective, I'm like, this will save like each individual one of us 4 to 8 hours a week alone. Like, that is a lot of time that we can put back toward focusing on typically what content marketers like to do most, which is thinking of the overarching story, finding the folks to interviewing them, writing that content, and then of course you want to put it through an AI tool that can help to distribute it or get it into all the proper formats for distribution. So it can help here with partner marketing. Some teams will take existing blogs, for instance, for partner marketing, and rewrite them so that you can avoid duplicate issues for all of those, however many partners you want to do that for. AI can definitely do that for you. For customer marketing and retention, sales enablement, all of that jazz, y'all get it. And then, of course, anything that needs to be created to feed the AI, that is what goes through the human production process. Again, humans are involved in this AI stuff too. You got to edit it, right? But this over here is where I see content marketers really focusing more over the coming years. So here's what that like human-ish content production processes. So one, starting with research. This can be AI enabled, of course. You then want to dive into interviews. These need to be real interviews, not just surveys or questionnaires out to your audience. I know that's been a big way that content marketers have collected like outside feedback and content over the last several years. One of the main reasons folks have done it that way is just because it's like time efficient, not necessarily, and actually not at all, because you get the best information, right? So if we can buy some of our time back or use AI to get some of our time back, then we really should be focused on more interviews, learning how to interview really well in terms of following the pain that somebody's talking about, building hypotheses based on what folks say, and writing content that ultimately sheds light on that and adds to the conversation. Transcripts, of course, those can be AI generated and edited after that. Writing and synthesizing, so that's the like main job here, which is like, how do you take those interviews, the research, the transcript, the data, whatever it is that you've gone out there to gather, put it all together into a piece of content that takes a really strong point of view, or takes a really strong stance, really highlights the expertise of those that you interviewed, all of that jazz. You, of course, will need to get approval, typically from the folks who were interviewed for the piece, as well as anyone else internally. And then a handoff to your channel partners for content repurposing that is AI enabled in this model. And we're going to talk about this here in a little bit on like how this differs at like large organizations versus small organizations. But ideally, again, you're able to hand this off to channel partners. So your social media team, your paid media team, lifecycle partner, customer marketing, sales enablement, these organizations that can take that high quality piece of content, drop it into an AI tool, leverage several maybe prompts maybe that your team has kind of helped come up with that ultimately get them the outputs that they need in the formats that they need using that content. And then, of course, content conversion optimization. Content marketing needs to convert because you're ultimately trying to sell a product. So this will give content marketers more time to focus more on CRO, but you do want to make sure that you are using AI to create those white papers, those one-pagers, based off of that existing content that you've already made that wasn't AI written. Okay, cool. So how this differs across teams and company sizes. If there is no other team to hand off finalized content to for repurposing and distribution, then that job's likely going to fall on the content team. Again, AI should be really, really helpful here, but ultimately, I think this is going to come down to how many higher quality pieces you're publishing, like upper funnel, right? So larger organizations might have the bandwidth because their content team isn't focused on the content repurposing to publish, say, like 8 to 12 blogs per month, where smaller organizations where they also need to focus on content repurposing might only be able to do 2 to 4 per month, but the process is generally the same. Y'all have seen something that looks like this before, right? Like this has been like the dream of content marketers forever. It's just an incredible amount of manual work that AI can help take quite a bit of that off from us now, which is you start with that article and then you're repurposing content into a variety of different assets based on that article. So each asset in particular might create anywhere from like 2 to 20 additional assets, depending on how long it was, how many people were involved, its specific takes, how your organization might be able to use it, all of that jazz. And I will tell y'all already, ChatGPT can already do a lot of this. Jasper can definitely already do a lot of this. My team's already working with these tools in these ways. Okay, cool. Those supporting distribution channels over time should work a lot like some of these new media companies do, where those media organizations, as they pull on more influencers, experts to like, I didn't mean that in a bad way, experts to write, newsletters or blog or like articles, all of that jazz. One of the things that we found with the creator economy is that a lot of these people lose steam really quickly. Similar to content marketers, it is not easy for one individual to do so much work. So companies like Workweek are then adding in like an ad sales team, promotion distribution teams, a variety of different things to support that individual expert, which again, you'll see more media companies do. Same thing over on the content marketing side, those distribution channels as content becomes more centralized and ultimately is working to produce that point of view, top of funnel, and really leveraging the brand's ecosystem. Those distribution channels should over time support the content marketing team in the repurposing efforts using AI as its main tool. That's what I got. I am gonna like go back here. I think this might be like maybe one of the more helpful slides in here, but that's it. That leaves us about 15 minutes for questions. I'm gonna hop back over here.
A bunch of them too, so this is great.
Okay.
Tracy, always, if we had a Venn diagram of our hot takes about content,
Wait. Do we overlap or do we not?
no, we overlap completely almost.
Oh, great.
Like every newsletter you put out, I'm like, yeah, we're thinking about the same thing.
So. You and I have been like chatting for a long time too, though. I think we've like helped, like we've just known each other for a long time. I've talked about content a lot. I think we've informed each other's takes. Yes. Yeah.
Totally. All right, I'm going to run down in the questions. You can actually vote. You can upvote. So I'm just going to run down the top upvoted first. What about the ethics of using AI for SEO content as a freelance writer?
The ethics of it? I mean, to be honest, I haven't thought a lot about the ethics of it. I have thought a lot about how companies like Google are really incentivized, one, to come out with their own tools, and two, to not let AI content be the stuff that is ranking at the top. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. So, I mean, can you like use AI to produce SEO content? Like, absolutely. Again, please edit it. There's a lot of tools and things out there to make sure that you're not plagiarizing. Like, please make it sound good. Editors, I think, have a huge comeback opportunity here. Not that like in content marketing, for some reason, editors aren't always existent, which is like really sad. That was sad for me as coming from the journalism world. I think they're really going to come back learning how to edit really well, and that hopefully should solve some of like the ethics of it. But I also just think that if you are an organization or any founders out there, like whomever, that are looking to like only use AI content as like their path to ranking really well, I think the Google's algorithm and other things are really going to be working against you there. Over time as those tools get better and better at understanding what is AI versus what is human generated.
There is another question related to that, but first, it made me think when you said that editorial skills are becoming more and more valuable. It made me think, like, what other skills do you think are emergent and more valuable now in this AI era?
Yeah,
like editing skills. Is there anything else that people should be looking into?
Interviewing skills, y'all. Interviewing is an art, y'all. Like, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got when interviewing folks is to follow the pain. Like this is just like something that the more you do it, the more you can like pick up on it. But when you are interviewing folks and they take like deep breaths or long sighs, or like you just as a human, because you are a human and you've like grown up and like learned how, like know how to speak to people and can take social cues. When you hear somebody talking about something that was like hard or painful, don't move on to the next question. Dive in, ask more about that. Like even say like, wow, that sounds like it was really hard. What was that like? How did that make you feel? What were you thinking at the time? Like a variety of different things, but like interviewing, a lot of folks just aren't very great at interviewing. It's been a skill, I think, over the last, decade or so that's like gone down and down, or like just hasn't been as in high of demand. We've used questionnaires in content marketing, journalism, media world in general has been having its own issues. I think interviewing is going to be coming back really strong. And then, of course, I mean, this is outside of like content in particular, but prompt writing, y'all. Like me and my content team right now, every time we talk about Chat GPT or any AI tool, our number one takeaway is, oh, when I get a bad output from it, it's because I didn't write a good enough prompt. And the more we focus on narrowing down what it is that we want from the AI tool, as well as the more we focus on getting really quality content in ahead of that prompt so it can pull the right information, the happier we are with the overall results. And that's just a learning process, right? Some people are better at like Googling than other people, right? Like it's just something you have to kind of play around with and learn how to do.
That was something that clicked for me like later. Like when I first started using AI tools, it was maybe like the expectations built up in my mind. I thought that I could go in and it would just magically produce great content,
Same.
and it didn't. So I was like, oh, these tools aren't good. And
Right.
then I learned, oh, it's like I have to like use this tool. Like I have to actually like give it inputs and give it prompts and like give it direction, and then you get good stuff out.
Yeah, like some of the ones I like just looking at other prompts people come up with because it like helps inspire my own. But like some of the ones that I've liked a lot recently are ones where you like go in there and you're like, again, I like to put copy in, and then I'm like, okay, act like a Twitter influencer, or act like a Twitter influencer in B2B marketing. Like rewrite this content to be engaging, following the AIDA model, targeted toward this specific audience. Like get crazy specific, like pull out writing styles and stuff. Tell it to like write it based on the hero's journey or like whatever. Like you can get so detailed with it. And the more detailed you get, the more specific you get, the more like theories and frameworks you give it to build off of, the more people you tell it to be, like describe those specific people and its audience, the better that content output is. But man, it's hard. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of using technology.
Well, you alluded to this a little bit, but I like the idea of using it like it almost feels like you're procrastinating, or at least it did for me when I was learning these tools. You're like playing around with it, you're exploring. It's not really productive, because how I learned all of these different use cases and like different commands you could give it was I tried to write like love poems.
Yeah, yeah.
I would be like, write a love poem about this person in the style of William Wordsworth or different poets, and like I would give it descriptions, and it would drastically change the output, or like song lyrics or something like that, and it was
Yeah.
totally unproductive. But it also made me like it showed me what the tools are capable of.
Right. Well, I mean, I like going in, like I am a long form content writer. I suck at copywriting, like very badly. Like I do it sometimes, but not great. I've read all of like the advertising stuff. It's something I've like legit tried to get better at. But I like using the tools to be like, write this like David Ogilvy would, or write this in the AIDA style, or like all of those like copywriting frameworks and tricks. I'm like, dang, it's good with this. It's better than I am at it. That's for sure. But again, I'm not a good copywriter. So
Here's one from me. Do you have any preferred workflows, recipes, templates, or specific tools that you use to repurpose long form content into, say, Twitter threads or LinkedIn posts?
oh goodness. So AI right now is helping my team a lot with repurposing stuff into Twitter threads, LinkedIn posts. So whether that's using Chat GPT, I like Jasper because again, you can do all the way up to 2,000 words and like say like I want this targeted towards like these specific folks. You do still have to go in and edit that. So I'm using that for white papers and one pagers. I'm still working on my prompts with AI. It's getting really close, but like I need better prompts. I am realizing. Tools for that though, I mean, my team uses Canva a lot. And then it's just something that like we keep in mind early on when we're creating content, which is we know we're going to need to repurpose the stuff. We stay in really close contact with our distribution channels, paid media in particular, as they test, long form PDFs versus short pagers versus one pagers, all of that jazz to see what works best. And then they're testing out AI tools with us too. But I mean, other things I don't really have any like recipes or templates. I have old templates for briefs, but I'm interested to see like how briefing might change as AI just like gets better and better. One thing that I'm having my team focus on a lot now is bringing in a really strong point of view to briefs. Because I think that like a really strong point of view that like connects to something that's like bigger than even our industry, and then like listing out the folks that we want to interview, I'm essentially asking them to create hypotheses in there, and then we hand that off to writers who their job is to test that hypothesis or that hypothesis with all the different folks that they're interviewing for that piece. And if the hypothesis proves true, great. And if it doesn't, great. That's an equally good article. And of course, we have SEO research and stuff that goes into that. But we are really focusing hard on how can we bring a human perspective to this? How can we differentiate this content through that point of view work, which I think is going to be more and more important as AI becomes bigger and bigger, and as some folks maybe unethically use AI for writing content.
That's a good segue, because there's another question about how might AI help content marketers with producing content briefs for freelancers. So
Yeah.
do you have any other tips on content briefs? Any general advice there?
Yeah, I mean, already I think AI is pretty decent at writing content briefs. I mean, you can hop into even Chat GPT, which again is a free tool now, and ask it for like drop in your keyword, right? And be like, for XYZ topic, like what are the most like important thing, what are the most important things to like cover or mention? And it'll get you a list. You can say like, what are the top 10 themes around email marketing or whatever else, right? You just like place that keyword in there. It's already doing a pretty dang good job and can speed up brief production pretty fast. I know my content marketers are already using it for that. Now, to be fair, they're using it for that portion of brief writing, right? Which is like, okay, like what are the like general topics that you need to cover? What are the counterintuitive things that like people might not think about when it comes to email marketing or whatever your keyword is? What are the controversial things? Like there's a variety of different things you can ask it and like build out that kind of brief and edit it down. But I still think even in the briefing process, you want to get in there and add a really strong point of view and hypothesis. And that point of view and hypothesis comes, one, from your brand's overall like take on an industry, but two, it also comes from your own research, right? Is like looking through what Chat GPT gives back to you, looking through what competitors are publishing on this, what people are saying on the different social platforms about it, and coming up with a hypothesis that feels new and interesting and relevant given that content. So that work still has to be done by a person, but I do think AI can help speed it up for you quite a bit.
Nice. I have a couple questions that are asking for specifics and examples. So let me know if you're comfortable or if something comes to mind here. So the first one is, can you provide an example prompt for asking ChatGPT to convert long form content into a social post?
Yeah. So I was just doing this in Jasper the other day. Again, Jasper can only do 2,000 words. My team's long form content is like 5,000 words usually. So we have to like take specific sections and drop it in. Once you do that, I mean, a good prompt is just like summarize the information above and put it into a Twitter thread, or act like a social media manager for a B2B company, or I don't know, act like, I think, what is his name? I think it's Tommy Clark, who's like just doing social so well for Triple Whale. Like act like Tommy Clark from Triple Whale, and like use whoever you want, use specific influencers and voices, and then say summarize the information above, write a Twitter thread based on the content above. I promise y'all, I've seen it. It does it really well. Same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with Facebook. Again, you might want to edit it a little bit, depending on like your own preferences. Like some of the stuff I've gotten from it for LinkedIn have felt more like academic than I might like it to sound, than like my own personal style might be on LinkedIn. But whatever, now I have like 250 words already written, and I can just kind of edit it and like drop it in and over. So that one in particular is really easy and actually pretty straightforward if you were to hop into some of these tools.
I like that. Yeah, It always tends to make mine more enthusiastic, so I have to go back and delete all the exclamation
Wait,
marks.
it makes mine more boring. I'd be interested to see like what the prompt is you're giving it, because I want mine to be more enthusiastic.
Okay, so we've talked about long form to short form repurposing, but this question flips it around and asks, have you tried going from short form social content that gets heavy engagement to create long form content? So thinking here about
Yeah.
harnessing the feedback loop that's like testing videos in short form on social to create longer
Yeah.
stuff.
So I haven't, but I can't imagine that you couldn't do that, right? So again, at least to get like a decent base. I would still probably want to go out and interview folks and get like some additional commentary for those long form pieces, like separate from the social poster or the video itself. But you should be able to drop in a tweet or thread or LinkedIn post, whatever it is, and ask it to like suggest headlines, right? Suggest 10 headlines based on the content above. Do that as many times as you want until you get some headlines that you want, and then pull a headline that you want. And it's like, based on this headline, write a long form article that explains XYZ and uses data and whatever else. Like, absolutely. Like that, I think that stuff is already happening. I think a lot of organizations are already using stuff in that way. And I also imagine that a lot of creators and like influencers, maybe who run their own blogs, especially because they might not need to go interview other people, right? Imagine a lot of them are starting to use it in that way too, where you can easily take one of those longer form pieces from LinkedIn and like have AI kind of structure it in a different way, specifically in a way that's great for SEO, because we know you can ask AI for keywords, you can ask it to like tell you the most important topics for something, to then once you have those most important topics, it's okay, write 2 paragraphs on this topic. Right. And it's just this longer conversation where you're copying and pasting what it says. Again, please go back and edit this, add sources and cite. Don't just take exactly what it says, because we do know, one, at least on Chat GPT, it's only looking at stuff from 2021 and before, which is pretty recent, but not all the way recent. And then again, you do want to make sure that you are not plagiarizing. There's a lot of tools that can help you do that. Just drop it in there, and that you are citing, of course, and making sure that you are linking to relevant data, all of that jazz.
So that was actually another question around plagiarism, which is it okay to create a complete first draft using AI and then edit it? Like, where do you draw the line between plagiarism and AI content?
Oh, yeah, no, I think you can write a complete first draft and then go in and edit it. Now, that is not the way that I am encouraging my teams to use it. I am encouraging them to, like, we are using it primarily for content repurposing, where we might use it in like research processes and building out briefs, but then a human goes in, looks at the brief, goes and interviews folks. We are a very interview heavy organization, and then produces that like really high quality piece of content. For us, the purpose behind doing that is because we have a lot of different internal distribution teams who want to use content in a variety of different ways. So we're like, great, we're going to publish the best possible piece with the strongest like branded point of view on this, so that all the other teams have like a source that they can go to and pull from. That's the way we do it. So we are not having anybody like an AI tool write stuff out for us. But you absolutely could pull it all over into a draft. If that's, I guess, on Chat GPT, I think in Jasper, you can kind of build it out all in there, go through and edit it, go through and like add additional quotes, add your own stuff, add your own company's data, add in graphics, all of that jazz. I don't think there's really anything wrong with that. I think that's probably one of the bigger use cases that we're going to see. What I think, and this is probably what the ethics question was trying to get at before too, is like, I think we are going to see a lot of people who don't do that editing process and who don't add anything new to it. And I think those people are going to ultimately find that, one, from an SEO perspective, that that's not going to work well over time as that tool gets better at recognizing that. But also, I imagine, because humans are adaptable, imagine all of us are going to get pretty decent at recognizing or even guessing at what is AI produced versus what isn't. And I think all of us are going to start to lean naturally towards pieces that have real interview quotes, like things that talk about my experience, stuff like that, that makes it clearer in our minds that something isn't AI generated only.
Yeah, I agree with the effectiveness, because I think if something's so easy that anybody can do the exact same thing with such low effort, like if you can just take a clear scope brief and generate a draft and not edit it at all, like
Yeah,
everybody else competing with you can do the exact same thing.
and they will.
So there's no way to stand out. Have you found that AI gets smarter the more you use it?
I don't know if AI gets smarter the more I use it. I think I get better at using AI the more I use it, right? So this goes back to the prompting, which is like really good prompts get you the best stuff. And this is a new way of interacting with technology. It's not natural for me. I haven't talked to anybody with whom it is incredibly natural. The more you play with it, the more natural it becomes. But I don't know if the AI is improving or if it's just me improving. You know,
Right on. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe slowly over time.
we will see. It's both of us, maybe.
All right. So there were more questions. This was, I think you might have gotten the most questions we've had in one of these. So
Nice,
props.
good.
But thank you so much. This was enlightening, and our team is going to use a ton of this stuff for the repurposing and more. So
It's
this
so
is really
cool. It
valuable.
really is. Like once you actually see it start to work, you're like, oh dang, like because I've been one of those people on LinkedIn that's been like, this isn't gonna go anywhere. And I'm like, no, it is. This is nice. This is good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tracey.
Of course, thanks.
All right. So closing remarks, just one announcement. Our next office hours is coming up on January 24th. This is with Ariel Kimberovsky, the head of marketing at Balsamiq. I've used Balsamiq for years. That's cool. All right. So Carissa dropped a couple links in the chat. There's a survey, there's a link to the next office hours, and there's a link to Klaviyo. Thank you, everybody, for attending and asking such great questions. We'll see you next time.